It is officially 2026, and if you are anything like me, you have been holding on to your Nintendo 3DS like it is a sacred relic. For a long time, there was just no replacing it. We all said the same thing. Nothing feels like the original hardware. You can't emulate the dual screen experience on a flat phone. You can't replicate that clamshell snap. And for years, that was true. But look at the market right now. The Nintendo eShop has been closed for 3 years. The price of a new Nintendo 3DS XL on eBay has crept up to over $300 for a model that isn't scratched to oblivion. And let's be honest, your battery is swelling, your circle pad is drifting, and that proprietary charging cable is getting harder to find. We are at a crossroads. Do you keep buying 15-year-old hardware to preserve the past, or do you finally upgrade? Ladies and gentlemen, I think the time for nostalgia is over. I have spent the last month with the AYN Thor. This isn't just an Android handheld with a hinge. This is the device that finally gives an almost perfect 3DS experience. But that's the thing, it is not perfect, and before you drop $300, there are some serious quirks you need to know about. Today, we are answering the big question: in 2026, should you still buy a 3DS, or is the AYN Thor the successor we have been waiting for? Let's dive in. Let's start with the elephant in the room, or rather, the clam in the room: the form factor. The reason we love the 3DS is the protection. You close it, you throw it in your bag, and you don't worry about screen protectors or stick drift. The Thor nails this. Physically, it is a triumph. AYN has learned a lot since the Odin days, and it shows. When you pick this thing up, it feels tense, but not heavy. It weighs in at around 380 grams, which is fascinating because that puts it in a sweet spot. It is slightly heavier than a new 3DS XL, which was about 330 grams, but it is significantly lighter than its main competitor, the AYN Pocket DS. That device feels like a brick. The Thor feels like a handheld. And the hinge? I know. We all have PTSD from the Retroid Pocket Flip hinge cracking issues a few years back. I have been opening and closing this thing aggressively, snapping it shut, open it one-handed, and it feels rock solid. It has a satisfying clack when it shuts that triggers the same dopamine hit you got in 2011. It opens to about 170 degrees, which is the perfect viewing angle for playing while lying on a couch. The buttons are what you would expect from AYN in 2026. Hall effect joysticks that are virtually drift-proof, recessed into the shell so the screen doesn't smash them when you close it. The D-pad is clicky, precise, perfect for Tetris or 2D platformers. But the real star of the show here isn't the plastic, it's the glass. If you go back to a real 3DS today, the first thing you notice is the screen. It's 240p. It's pixelated. Unless you have a rare dual IPS model, the viewing angles are terrible. We accepted it because the games were good, but looking at it now, it is kind of rough. The Thor solves this with brute force. We have a 6-inch AMOLED panel on top running at 180p and 120 Hz. And this is the kicker, the bottom screen is also AMOLED. This is where AYN beat the competition. The AYN Pocket DS used an LCD for the bottom screen, and in a dark room, the backlight bleed from the bottom screen was distracting. On the Thor, it is pitch black. The contrast is infinite on both panels. When you boot up a game like Zelda Ocarina of Time or Link Between Worlds and you upscale it to 3x or 4x internal resolution, it doesn't look like a retro game. It looks like a modern indie release. The colors pop in a way the original TM panels never could. The blacks in Dungeons of Zelda are actually black, not washed out gray. and because the top screen is 6 inches, you have a lot more real estate. A big complaint with emulating DS on a single screen device is that you either have to make the screens tiny to fit them side by side, or you have to switch back and forth. Here you have the physical separation. It feels authentic. It feels right. But hardware means nothing if the software is a mess. So, how does it actually play? I tested the model with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. There is a Lite model with an older chip, but honestly, for the price difference, stick to the Gen 2. You need that overhead for accurate 3DS emulation. Running Asahar, or rather the latest fork of it we are using in 2026, is a dream. The dual screen implementation is seamless. Once you set it up, it stays there. The touch response on the bottom panel is snappy. Playing Phantom Hourglass or Spirit Tracks, where you control Link entirely with a stylus, feels just as responsive as the original hardware. However, there is one thing you lose: stereoscopic 3D. The Thor does not have a 3D parallax barrier screen. If you're one of the 5 people who actually played with the 3D slider all the way up, you're going to miss that depth. For the most of us who turned it off to save battery, you won't miss it at all. The sharpness of the 1080p OLED panel more than makes up for the lack of depth. Here is why the Thor is a better buy than a used 3DS in 2026. A 3DS plays 3DS games, maybe some DS and GBA games if you hack it. The Thor plays everything. Because we have that Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, this is a PS2 beast. It also runs GameCube flawlessly. Wind Waker looks vibrant on this OLED. But the real secret weapon here is Wii U. The Wii U was the original dual-screen home console. With the Thor, you can emulate the Wii U gamepad on the bottom screen and the TV view on the top screen. Playing Nintendo Land or Zombie U the way they were intended, on a portable device, is mind-blowing. It is a niche use case, sure, but it turns this from a retro handheld into a history museum of dual-screen gaming. And let's not forget Switch emulation. While the scene has been volatile lately, the Thor handles lighter Switch titles easily. Playing Hollow Knight or Celeste on the go with this D-pad is a joy. Now I have to be the bearer of bad news. This is still an Android device, and that comes with Android jank. When you buy a 3DS, you turn it on, put in a cartridge, and play. When you buy a Thor, you have a homework assignment. You need to set up your emulators, you need to configure the pads, you need to tweak the screen layouts for every single app to ensure the bottom screen is utilized correctly. AYN has their launcher, and it is okay. It attempts to unify your library, but it glitches out occasionally. Sometimes an app will force itself into portrait mode and you have to fight the settings to rotate it back. The battery life is also a mixed bag. The 6000 mAh battery is huge on paper, but you are powering 2 OLED screens and a high-end processor. If you're playing native Android games like Genshin Impact or pushing high-res PS2 emulation, you are getting maybe 3 hours of playtime. If you're sticking to DS and GBA, you can squeeze a little more. Also ergonomics. While I love the weight, the device is flat. There are no grips on the back, and after an hour of playing Mario Kart 7, my hands started to cramp slightly. AYN sells a grip add-on, but that ruins the pocketability. It's the classic trade-off. Do you want it to fit in your pocket, or do you want it to be comfortable for 6 hours? You can't have both. Let's talk money. The Thor base model starts at around $300. The Pro model with more RAM is closer to $370. A pristine new 3DS XL is roughly $300 on the second-hand market right now, so it is very expensive. But look at what you are getting. With the 3DS, you are buying aging hardware with a battery that is likely degraded. You are locked into a 240p screen. You are buying a piece of history, yes, but a fragile one. With the Thor, you are buying a modern multi-purpose entertainment center. You get streaming apps, you get Xbox Game Pass, you get PS2, GameCube, Wii, 3DS and DS all in one device. You get Bluetooth audio and you get fast charging over USB-C. So here is my verdict. If you are a collector, if you want the box on your shelf, by all means, buy a 3DS, keep it safe, preserve it. But if you want to play games, if you want to actually experience the library of the DS and 3DS era without squinting, without hunting for overpriced cartridges, and with the modern conveniences of save states and fast forward, the AYN Thor isn't just a good alternative, it is an upgrade. It respects the form factor of the past while giving us the technology of the future. The dual OLED screens are a game changer that you have to see in person to appreciate. It revives these games in a way that makes them feel new again. But that's just my experience. I want to know what you think. Is the nostalgia of the original hardware worth the low resolution, or are you ready to move on to high-res emulation? Let me know down in the comments. I read every single one. I've got a full guide coming out the next week on how to set up the dual screens perfectly for emulators like Citra and Asahar, so make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss that. We are trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and your support means the world to me. Hit that like button if this video helped, and I will see you in the next one. And remember, stay docked or not.